Hi everyone, my name is Nkemakolem Osian, and I would like to focus my equity talk on the power of storytelling as a tool for social change. It has been such a struggle for me sharing my personal journey with fibroids. I am Nigerian American, and I come from a culture where you do not talk about your personal struggles publicly. Whatever you're battling privately, it is not for public consumption. So, being a part of an organization that is dedicated to storytelling and that uses storytelling as a focal point of all of our efforts has been a challenge for me. It has created within me internal conflicts, and it has created questions in my mind that have caused me to reassess and reevaluate my approach to leadership and to advocacy. Questions such as, how can I effectively advocate for others when I can't advocate for myself? How can I be a voice for the voiceless when I am having trouble finding my own voice? How can I amplify the stories and voices of women suffering in silence with fibroids when I am remaining silent about my own personal struggle? These questions are questions that I think about constantly during this whole advocacy process. I have gradually started sharing my story. However, a turning point in my journey came when I was selected as a fellow for the Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity program. During the initial convening, the session on public narrative, the stories of self, us, and now, really resonated with me because I came into this fellowship with a project that focused on HIV and intimate partner violence. However, the public narrative session reinforced for me the power of my story and my lived experience. So I quickly shift my focus from HIV, which is a very important topic, to fibroids, which is an equally important topic. However, it is also an area that I have a personal story and lived experience with. So I thought this was a wonderful opportunity to continue my advocacy work in this area by sharing my story and amplifying the cause. And throughout this entire fellowship year, I have shared my story on so many different public platforms, more so than ever before. Platforms such as podcasts and being interviewed for articles that focus on fibroids. This knowledge, knowing that I've shared my story on so many different platforms, would make my mother cringe. But I know that in order to create positive change, sometimes you have to defy social and cultural norms and expectations. In addition, this fellowship has allowed me to tap into my innate strength that I find through the vulnerability in sharing my story. Now, some may say that vulnerability is a sign of weakness. However, I would argue that vulnerability is the birthplace of authenticity. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovative and creative ideas. Vulnerability is the birthplace of effective leadership. And this year, I have seen firsthand the power in storytelling and how storytelling can truly influence policy change. In July, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris introduced the Uterine Fibroid Research and Education Act of 2020. This bill will allocate $30 million in funding towards fibroids research. This was a huge milestone in our advocacy efforts, and it was a direct result of bringing the stories of women suffering in silence with fibroids out from the shadows into the light. Sharing our stories is activism. And I can sum up my entire fellowship experience in one quote by Maya Angelou. The quote says, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." So I am going to continue giving the world the gift of my story And I'm going to continue dedicating my life's work to empowering others to do the same as a form of collective action to create lasting, positive social change for my generation and generations to come. And as Barack Obama always emphasizes, we are the change that we seek. We are the change that we've been waiting for. And I am going to be that change. Thank you.